If I can have everybody's attention. My name is Nicholas Richard Thompson. I am the Deputy Chief of Staff. First and foremost, we want to thank you all for being here. We appreciate you making time on this early morning. Today, we're going to be having our third Listening and Action Tour. The format will be a brief presentation by our mayor. Then we will have a large group kind of discussion to generate dialogue, hearing from residents, thoughts, concerns, questions, and then we will break out into small groups based upon ward and have a little bit more intricate discussions. Before we begin, I'd like to give Alderman Edward Bugg a brief moment to speak and welcome you.
Good morning. It is great to see such a large crowd. Welcome. I'll say welcome to Ward 8, Eola Community Centers in Ward 8. But this is actually a welcome home for me. My kids went to preschool in this building. My one daughter was a competitive cheerleader with the team here. Her old picture may be out on the wall there. My other daughter was a competitive gymnast in this building. So I used to come to this building literally 6 days a week. So this was my home for a very long time. And now my daughter coaches the gymnastics team at this building. So it is full circle. It is great to be here today. For my Ward 9 residents, it's great to see you again. We had a very fantastic National Night Out. The largest in the city. It was fantastic. So I hope you were able to make it out. I'm just going to very briefly let you know about some things going on in Ward 9, but also for all the citizens of Aurora. Of course, I have a few things out on the table out there. If you have lost your annual newsletter, go ahead and pick one up. It has all the events going on this year. Coming up in August, we have our clean out and blood drive. Clean out, blood drive, food drive. So the clean out, of course, we're going to have Groot bring their large commercial trucks. We're going to have our recycler come out, and you can literally bring just about anything. So clean out your basement, clean out your garage, all those couches, mattresses, sofas, dressers that have been gathering dust. That is a day, August 23rd, over at Crossroads Church. In conjunction with that, we had the Bloodmobile, and I saw the Bloodmobile in the parking lot over there. Well, we had the Bloodmobile out that day for Ward 8 residents and for everyone. So, of course, the clean out is for Ward 9. If you give blood on that day on the Bloodmobile, you are able to take advantage of the cleanout. So go get blood, and people rent a truck from Home Depot or wherever and pull it up and dump everything. And that's what it's for. So we hope we see you on August 23rd. And we ask that you bring a canned food for the church community, Crossroads Community Church. Of course, there's a food pantry. We just ask you bring a can of food to help out with their food pantry on that day. So August 23rd, the clean out is 8 to 11. The blood drive is 8 to noon. So if you clean out, then you still have time to go get blood. All these flyers are going to be on the table back there. And then in September, and I'm going to have to cheat because we do this together, of course, Wards 8, 9, and 10. And, oh, there it is on the back. Saturday, September 13th is our annual shred event. Of course, that's over at our Station 8, Fire Station 8. I'm sure many of you remember that, have been involved in that. So that is running, what are the hours this year? Also 8 to noon. 8 to noon. We say up to 5 banker boxes of documents. Try and keep it to that. If you have a little bit more, we'll let you slide through. Please don't back up a truck. If you have a law firm or a medical practice, don't back up a truck dumping documents for the last 20 years. But no, we try to have those types of events for our residents, so you have different opportunities to take advantage of those things. So I don't want to take up any more of your time. Again, thank you for coming out. Thank you for being involved. Thank you for wanting to be engaged in our great city.
Thank you, Alderman Bug. So I'll be brief because we want to get to hear from you all. But just to give an idea of what we're doing today, the reason this is so important and has been appropriate for the mayor since he was on the campaign is because we want to be able to build a transparent, responsive type of government. Is bottom up. Give me 1 second. Hello, testing, testing. Okay, that's easier. We want to be able to build a transparent and responsive government that is bottom up, and that requires constant engagement with our residents. So building more connected communities leads to better outcomes, quality of life, and we problem solve better. So we want to make sure that we are connected and have a dialogue with our residents, and this is the start to that because it's a process. Next, just the grounding. Be really brief about this just so we know how to engage with each other. We want to have civil discourse, meaning we want to have engage in good faith with one another. We may not share the same outlooks on life, but we all want the same things, right? Prosperous communities, safe communities, quality of life, and to be able to pursue our aspirations, right? We can connect on those. Next, speaking time. There will be time during the small groups to get into the nitty gritty and the intricacies of some of your questions. But what we ask is that if you have a question and it requires a follow-up, that you hold the follow-up to respect the collective time during the shared opportunity for speaking. And then finally, we're building trust and collaboration. We're well aware that instances in town halls may come together and then what happens after. We want to call these listening and action tours because we do intend to take the feedback from all of these and all of our residents, and that will inform and instruct how the mayor's office operates and how the city goes forward. So it's really important to us that we not only hear from you, but then take actions, right? We want to listen, but if we're not moving and taking actions, then we're not doing our part. And this becomes a place where people don't feel comfortable and confident coming because we're not doing what's, we've emerged from the discussion. So those are the three things we ask: just civil discourse, respect the speaking time, and then let's build trust. We're moving at the speed of trust. With that, I'd like to bring up our community engagement coordinator to talk briefly about the importance of our community engagement work and what that looks like. Karina?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. This is a very nice crowd, so we're very happy to have you. My name is Karina Suarez Darden. I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator. My manager, Ileana Rivera Nunez, wasn't able to be here, so that's the reason that I'm going to be talking a little bit about neighborhood groups throughout Aurora. We have 25 active neighborhood groups. Unfortunately, but in a good way, we don't have any neighborhood groups for Ward 8 or 9. So this is a great opportunity to start a new group. I know that we have Greeno in the past, and Chrissy, it's in the back, all the way to the back, and it was very successful. If I'm not mistaken, they were together 20 years, Chrissy, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. So exactly, and I know that I have been in communication with Kay, but unfortunately I wasn't able. So it's not official yet through the city of Aurora, but we are in conversation. So, but if anybody else beside Georgetown would like to start a neighborhood group, please make sure to grab some information at the entrance. We have flyers, but community engagement take a big part of National Night Out. Proudly, I can say that we host 27 last Tuesday. Very successful. Like Alderman Bog was saying, he was sharing, it was huge, a lot of community engagement with the elected official, of course, with our mayor, and it was a great night. And the main reason for the neighborhood groups is to get to know your neighbor. That way, we take care of each other. I know that our law enforcement, it can be every single where, right, around Aurora. So like they always say, they want us to be their eyes in order for them to help us out. So please make sure to grab some information at the entrance, your way out, or if you have any question, I'm gonna be here as well. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Karina. Next, I'm going to have our 311 and customer call service manager speak briefly about 311 in that program.
Good morning. I am Ricky Benjamin, the customer relations manager for 311. By show of hands, how many of you guys are familiar with 311? Okay, and keep your hand up if you've utilized it, either calling us online, the app. Okay, so I'll be very short and brief, but I'll give you guys an idea of what it is for those that are not aware. 311 is our first point of contact for the city of Aurora. So anyone who's looking to contact the city to get information, to look for a service, just to ask a question that you don't know where to go, that's what we're there for. So by calling 311, it's a very simple number. You can just pick it up and call us. We're here for your non-emergency city services. So things like getting your parkway tree trimmed, a street light that's out in the neighborhood, a pothole on your way to work that you see every day. Any of those things that don't necessarily require the police, we're here. Because what we do is we take the information, we create a ticket, and then it goes directly to the division that can handle the issue. And there's no in-between time. Once you guys give us information, it assigns directly to that division. Now, with every request, every complaint, please be aware they all have different response times. If you've ever asked for your parkway tree to get trimmed, you know that this time of year, there are thousands of other people who are also requesting that as well. So the streets department is putting them on a list and getting to them as fast as they can. Street lights. People see street lights out all the time on their walks or their way to work, their way home from work, but they don't know how to submit those requests to the city to get it taken care of. Through 311, we launched a new software, which came with a new app. The app is very user-friendly if anyone's ever used it. It really is. You can create an account. You can do it anonymously. We prefer that you put your information in so that if the city has additional questions, they can reach out to you. The information is not shared with the public. It's for internal use only. On the app, you go on there, you create a request, you put the address, you can take a picture of what's right in front of you and submit the request, and it goes directly to the division. So once you hit submit, that streetlight outage is going directly to electrical, and they're getting notified of it. It's very user-friendly. It's very convenient. If the app is not your thing, you can go online. There's an online website, or you can call us at 311. We're located at 3770 McCoy Drive at Fire Station 8, and we're there Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. You also can come in person and pay your water bill. It's a pretty convenient location for some of you guys. You can purchase garbage stickers. I know on this side of town, that's been a huge thing. We're there Monday through Friday, 7 to 7, and we always carry garbage stickers. So feel free to come in and purchase them. Any other questions that you guys might want to come in person for? Questions about putting in a complaint? We're there as well for that. But it really is as simple as that. So with that being said, in just a second, we're going to show you a video of how to submit a request on the app. At the end, there is a QR code. If you want to scan it, you can do so, and it'll take you right to where you download the app. The last thing I'm going to say, I know Alderman Bug talked about a couple of events. There is another large city event that's September 6th. It's the free electronic recycling for the fall. So I know everyone's waiting for that to come around. It's going to be Saturday, September 6th at the Route 59 train station from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. And registration is required, and it will open about 2 weeks before. You guys can follow the city on social media or go and sign up for the email communications, and you'll get notifications when the registration is open. 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Ricky? Yes. Correct. So you are up. You can take up to 2 screens per car. Make sure you take your photo ID because they are checking. Outside of the screens, there's not a limit on other electronics. You just can't take large appliances, dishwashers, refrigerators, things like that. And what's that? No. Oh, I don't believe they'll take that. A lawnmower. Yeah, I think that's on the list of large things they won't take, but the information is on the website. All right, with that being said, we'll show the video.
The city of customer service experience with the launch of the My Aurora 311.
Next, I will welcome our mayor to give a financial report on the city.
Thanks, everybody. Huge thanks to Nick for putting these together. Nick is probably one of the more overtasked people on the third floor, assistant chief of staff. He's also overlooking all of the boards and commissions. He's a liaison with our state reps, federal reps, and local representatives, and has been pitching it on every project. But his goal at the end of this is to write a transition report which lays out the goals for the next 4 years of my administration. So the point of being here today is to be part of that discussion and to add community input as to what you would like for the next 4 years. That being said, I need to go around the city and also tell the residents that we're not in a great financial position. On day one of my administration, we found out that there was a $500,000 memorandum of understanding that never went through the council and was not part of the budget that was due to VNA payment. Day two, we found out that we were over budgeted by $6.3 million in IT. This is already in May for largely police and fire communication equipment and affiliated tower, and partially because of the 311 software took a lot more consulting work than we anticipated in the budget. So these are just some of the early financial troubles that we saw coming in. The CFO, Chris Minnick, left. We brought on Stacy, who has been doing the budget for the city for a long time, and then shortly after getting the audit reports done, shared with me that preliminary numbers show that we're in a pretty significant position. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how we got there and what we're doing to fix it. But if you'll go to the next slide. So out the door, during the transition, the previous mayor gave all of the police and sergeants union and some of the other unions a 4% pay raise across the board for the next 4 years. So you can see this is roughly, and we still have 2 contracts to go, but this is roughly $3.2 million added to the general fund budget. By the time we're done with negotiations, it'll probably be an additional $4.5 million. Next slide. And the city is about $327 million in debt. Also, as the final days, the administration pushed through a third fire station. So we're building 3 fire stations. We've invested in Rivers Edge Park. It's about $26 million, about $24 million to widen Farnsworth and Bilter roads and make improvements to largely accommodate the casino. And so this adds roughly $7 million to the budget that as part of our debt service, which is now about $27 million a year. Next slide. So immediately out of the gate, we canceled the City of Lights Center, which was projected at $124 million, but looking closer at more detailed reports was anticipated to cost $250 million. That would have, of course, increased our debt service if we had gone down that path. We delayed the Broadway streetscape. For those who travel downtown, the state is funding a resurfacing project that'll still be happening. It's going on this summer right now, but we had intended and planned to bring the sidewalks out to reduce the parking along Broadway and a number of other street beautification projects. We've delayed that. We delayed $4.5 million project for Millennium Plaza rehab, and we're trying to look at all the capital projects that we can pull back on to stave the bleeding. Let me just say that. Next slide. So we stopped and delayed some projects. No more TIFs or corporate bailouts happening for sure in this year. For those, somebody asked that last question, what is a TIF? Effectively, what a TIF does is takes the money away from the tax base. So instead of money going to your schools, going to the facilities like this, the public library, Fox Valley Park District, and in the city of Aurora, that money goes into the development project there. So this is something that we're going to be cutting back on for sure. We've also working on budget efficiencies. We're pursuing more grants. This is a good news. We've got a very aggressive grant department that during transition started working to get more grants coming into the cities. We can't predict that. Next slide. Oh, and then new revenue. We'll talk about that real briefly. So this is the good news. We have went out for about $12 million in grants, but the federal government has made it more complicated to try and get some of that grant funding. There's now a checkbox that says that you will comply with the president's executive orders if you accept this grant money. Not knowing what's coming out of the White House, I'm not going to be checking that box. It's already cost us about $350,000 in grants that were coming to the Aurora Police Department. So we're still not sure if we'll get all these, but we're at least aggressively going after it. Next slide. It's a great time. I don't think that a lot of people live in the orange area on the map, but if you do live in the orange area, we did get a $1 million grant if people want to get a tree. Just follow that QR code. We probably have some information in the back also. And I think you're eligible for 2 trees, either in a parkway or a private property. Next slide. So if you're not in the orange area, it won't go through the federal grant. We do have a parkway tree replacement program year round. And I guess because if in the orange area, we'll use the grant money, that might free up some more space if those are for parkway trees, not private property. So that program is spring and fall, and you can find information on the city's website. So she had asked about if you don't live in the orange area, then what happens? Budget efficiencies. This is, we were looking at putting cameras out at River Edge Park as part of that program. When we came into office, this was an $800,000 bid package. We put it out to competitive bid and reduced the number of cameras and brought it down to $527,000. This is just one example of some of the stuff that we're working on. Next slide. We talked about the 311 call center. That's a very small room, and there's people in there taking your phone calls coming in from the community. Ricky could tell you how many, but it's real loud, and so they were going to go through a full remodel, but instead Ricky came back with a much smaller package just to add some sound deadening changes to that room, clean up the office furniture just a little bit, and that saved about $1.7 million. Next slide. And then we're in the middle of the budget process right now, and we're asking each department to come in and tell us what they really need versus what they want, and looking for budget efficiencies and places we can trim or realign with my goals versus the previous administration's goals. Next slide. We put on tighter spending controls. So this is just a look at on the right side of the graphic, my right, your left. It shows citywide P cards, purchase cards. Since taking office, we've seen a decline in 28% spending. And then the mayor's office itself has seen a decline of 54% spending in the last 2 months. Next slide. Refinancing right now is not really a good option. For anybody, think about if you were to refinance your home mortgage, it's just not a good time with high interest rates and inflation. So we are trying to work with the Illinois Finance Authority. It's pretty much the state bank, to see if they'll work with us on refinancing some of our debt. If there's an opportunity to do that, we'll do that. Next slide. And then we are looking at new revenue streams and an existing revenue stream. So the top item is before the city council right now. The state passed a law several years ago that requires us by October to say if we're going to continue to take a 1% grocery tax. So the state currently is taxing 1%, and then they deliver that money to the municipality. This would change it, or really we just have to sign on and say we want that to continue. If we don't, we'll have an additional $4.5 million budget shortfall. Another option, some municipalities, most municipalities around here have agreed to extending that 1% grocery tax. Others are looking at a sales tax increase. Aurora has one of the higher sales tax in the area, so this wasn't something we put on the docket, but if the council wants to go in this direction, we could raise sales tax by 0.25%, and that would generate $6.5 million. Next slide. So the real purpose today isn't necessarily to talk about the budget. It's to talk about what you want to see over the next 4 years. These are some of the goals that I had, and as you can see, coming in to a financial crisis, it might be a little bit more challenging to meet some of those goals and to carry them out. But working class single family homes is something that's important to me versus a lot of the apartments that are going in, and especially when those apartments are owned by people outside of the city of Aurora, owned by Wall Street, and they don't care about our community, jack the rates up to pay off investors. That's not a good business model, I think, for the city, and I think single family homes create more stable people that want to be in the community, be part of the community. Workforce development is another good news. A little good news. We did qualify for the Clean and Equitable Jobs Act, required that the city of Aurora have a workforce development hub for green energy future. We have found a space for them to work, and they'll be renting a building for us to train Aurora workers for the coming green collar economy, to facilitate more businesses that are in this space. And these will both lead towards, one, energy savings for residents of the city of Aurora, and two, better local jobs. I'm very focused on sustainability and climate. We shifted over one of the positions in our economic development department to a sustainability manager or director. And we're working hard right now because a lot of the incentives coming from the federal level are about to expire. And so we want to make sure that if Aurora residents want to take advantage of those, that they do it now. The electric vehicle rebate is $7,500. There's additional ComEd rebates, and the state has a periodic $4,000 rebate that they offer. So that expires in September. The solar panel incentives are about 30% savings from the federal level and close to 10 to 20% at the state level, which means you could get solar panels 50% off. That expires in December because there's a permitting process, and ComEd has to come out and flip the switch. We're thinking that decision has to also be made by early September if people want to take advantage of that. So we do have some staff that are preparing some materials. They just came on last week, and to try and push that out into the community and make them aware of these advantages, because they're all going to disappear shortly. Maintaining and improving infrastructure. I'm very aware of a lot of the infrastructure needs, especially the parents who are concerned about Eola and Ogden and getting their kids safely to Fisher and Waubonsie. This is an area where we applied for a grant, did not get it. We will be going back out to that and working with parents in the community in this area, actually, to try and get some grant funding for that, given the current financial picture in the city. And then finally, closing the wealth gap and working to attract better paying jobs, a big part of the agenda, and small business development. We do have there was a facade grant as part of a transformation fund that it would help businesses repair just their front. I'm going to modify that a little bit. So if a small business is having trouble complying with our codes, they might need updated electrical, they might want to get solar panels, they might want to clean up the front of their building or get new glass, that there would be a matching fund assistance program so they could do it, so we could continue to support those people who have already invested in our downtown or other parts where they decide to open a business or a shuttered business, to try and get them open and online. Next slide. Or is that it? That's it. I should know the end of my own presentation. What's next, Nick?
Thank you, Mayor. So thank you all for sitting through all of that for us. This next portion. It is our. Hello. Okay. This is our commitment to transparency. So we appreciate you sitting through that so that you have the information that we have. The next portion is for you. I'll be walking around with this mic. And if you have a question, thought, comment, concern, cataclysm, please just raise your hand and I will be coming around to bring it to you. And we have this as a guiding, but all questions are on the table. And then the mayor, our chief of staff. I figure I'll do that. I'll have you. Yeah, please. And you want to state your name and ward when you. Hello.
So hopefully this is working. Okay, great. I'm Nathan Shepard. I'm a longtime Ward 8 resident. I moved out slightly recently, not by my own volition. I live with my parents. So I'm probably one of the younger people in the room here. So before I ask my question, I just want to ask really quickly, who here has seen the amount of traffic increase on Eola over the past 10 years? Can I see a raise of hands? Okay, great. So one comment / question, I guess, is I remember hearing a while ago at a traffic meeting that in initial planning, the idea for opening the 88 entrance and then also the connection to Route 30 was because they were trying to convert Eola into a state route instead of being a residential road. So at the moment, Eola is a county road, but a plan by the city a long time ago, from what I heard, was that the plan was to essentially make it into a state route, similar to like Route 59, and connect it up to Route 30. As we have seen over the past couple of years, traffic has drastically increased on Eola. That doesn't even include the speeding issues and other stuff like that. So I guess my question / just something to consider, Mayor, is that what are ways to try to mitigate, because at this point, I don't think we're going to be really able to mitigate the amount of traffic that comes in, but how are we able to mitigate the speeding issues that is not a speed sign, because speed signs don't work? What are ways that we can try to mitigate the amount of traffic? Is there some sort of diversion areas that we can implement, other aspects like that? Because as someone that did have to do the Eola Ogden crossing a bunch as a kid, there have been plenty of times I almost got hit. So yeah, basically just like a consideration to make is how do we implement a way of doing either traffic diversion or traffic mitigation with the knowledge that Eola initially was trying to be implemented into some sort of state route. So I guess it's not really a question, but just more like a consideration.
I'll take it over because you'll talk all day. I know you, Nate. Love you. But Eola definitely, number one, is to stop the development along Eola. Every time we build a new development and add more people, the traffic problem gets a little bit worse. Secondly, I did have a meeting with CMAP, the Chicago Metropolitan Area of Planning, and made them aware of it and asked them if they would look at doing a study before turning it into a state route. There's things that I'm not a traffic engineer, but our public works department and engineering department, I've also asked them to make this a high priority to work with CMAP to look at a study about how we can slow traffic down. That might include roundabouts on a very speedy road. That would require a lot of education from residents and nearby people, but they've worked in other parts of the United States very effectively. But somehow we definitely have to work to slow down traffic on Eola. There's no silver bullet on this. That's a fact. I know that we've been putting up the speed radar signs. For some of the neighborhood speeding, we're looking at a program called ActiBump. It creates a speed bump. If you're speeding, it sends a signal and it drops a plate down into the ground, creates a speed bump. I don't think that'll fly on Eola. But the answer is I'm very aware of it, working hard at it. But I'm going to trust the experts and push it back into their hands before coming out here with just shooting from the hip some ideas. And if people have a specific area, I'm aware of all the places that are missing sidewalks around the schools. And those, again, will be high priorities where we'll work with the ward alderperson to try and use ward funds as well as other city funds to make sure that we can do that, and then chasing grant dollars at the same time. Up front.
Good morning, Yolanda Carnes, Ward 9. I'm curious, what is the projected time frame of the completion of the casino? And with the state of our finances, do you foresee any of that revenue being able to close the gap with the deficits that we have?
So the casino, I talked to Greg Moore, who's managing the project, the facility, the old casino and the new casino. And he said if he doesn't have it open by June of 26, he'll lose his job. So I'm guessing it'll be open by June of 26. Okay. They're ahead of schedule. And if it comes online, I don't know about the revenue projections. Chicago's casino fell short by 40% of revenue projections. Joliet's opening up. I'm hopeful. I can definitely say that the first couple of years we're probably going to see a significant revenue increase. But I don't think it's knowing what the gap is and knowing what it may generate. I don't think it's going to be enough. It is some good news, though.
And then the part two would be, so it's going to be a casino. Will it also be a venue where there will be more than just gambling there?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's going to have a hotel and convention center as well. I don't have it on the slide here, but the council did pass. We were low on our hotel tax, occupancy tax. So that came up to meet area what other municipalities are at, and that'll generate anywhere from $500,000 to $800,000 in new revenue. But I feel that they didn't invest all this money to see it be a failure. I think they're going to do lots of advertising, promotions, get people through the doors. So I'm hopeful that it will generate some new revenue. It won't close the gap.
Hi, I'm from Ward 8 from the Oakhurst community. I've a question for them. Off of Viola, at the I-88, there's 3 large, I guess you call them electronic businesses. How much revenue do they provide the city?
I didn't come prepared to answer that. If you can get me if somebody could get the name of the businesses, we can find out how much revenue. Is it the data centers? Is that what you're? Okay. I don't know the numbers again. They use a lot of electricity, so there's a utility tax that they pay. And we can dig into that. So in addition to the property tax that they're paying, there's also a utility tax. Those are the 2 revenue streams out of those data centers. Is there a different, other than the data centers, is there another business that you know the name of that we can look into? Okay, I guess he's working with staff. Next question. Who's got the mic? Here.
Hi. So my question is regards to you've laid out a plan for the next 4 years, but I guess I'm wondering what is happening in terms of maybe planting the seeds for the next generation. So I say this because, considering everything that may be coming down the pipeline in terms of the climate and the economy, one of the things that has struck me is that we are a very car-dependent ward. Even though that I know that there's developments that are coming that are supposed to mimic or encourage people to walk, but let's be real, they might not. I have lived in this ward for 30 years now, and I on Ogden, I see families nearly getting hit on their way from mosque just because on Fridays, just because it's not very walkable. Ogden is walkable, 59 is walkable. Yes, there are sidewalks, but it's just, and anyone who's ever had to take the Metro, Route 59, there's only so much you can't really. like municipal level, but it's just a concern for me because I just see like so much development in the last couple of years, and yet I don't see it's not development that encourages community, it's development that accepts. Oh, did anyone even hear that?
So what you're basically asking is how do we become less car dependent and shift our transportation modes? Okay, so I'll start with number one, and I could have made this part of the answer to Nate. There's an engineering shortage across the nation right now. We have several engineering positions that are open. One thing that we're going to try and do, there's a new concept out there called Strong Towns, and this is formed by a former developer. So the goal of a lot of traffic engineers right now is to move traffic as quickly as you can. The Strong Towns concept is how do you make it safe, walkable communities that are less dependent on the vehicle. I do want to make sure that we try, as we're trying to recruit engineers, which is a challenge right now, that we're also trying to get somebody who's coming out of this new school of thought to start to integrating that into our development projects. Secondly, is if there are developments, we want to make sure that they have sound wall protections for the residents going in there. That hasn't been a priority, as well as green space as part of each development. That was a priority for the previous Wisner administration, but not in the past administration. And then again, it'll be a lot of working with CMAP. And I'm trying to think, you asked about aging populations. So the previous administration did put in a dial-a-ride program for senior citizens. It was very popular. Because of federal funding cuts, that went away. Our aging and disabilities person did find another solution. And what's happening right now is I'm just going to call it a very big change in transportation bill going through Springfield. It's complicated. It involves a lot of municipal players, counties, and of course CTA and RTA. So it's going to be trying to merge all these together with a new funding stream to provide more funding for these and also have like a central management. Because right now there's ride program in Kane County, ride program in DuPage County, Will County that stop at the county lines. That's not really accessible for a lot of people and more difficult to use. Aurora Township has a ride program. The city has a ride program. So I think that there is going to be some effort to one, generate more funding, and two, try and bring all those programs together to make them efficient to provide curb-to-curb service for especially seniors and disabled people who need that ride service in our city. As the bill currently stands, I don't see some of the necessary components. So the city's not signing on to it because there's not enough suburban representation on that board. But it is something that I think needs to happen to try and draw the entities together. We just need to make sure that all the money is not going to be stuck in Chicago and that there'll be services out here, especially if we're paying for them. I don't think that we're going to be asking senior citizens to start walking more and getting on a bike instead of getting in a car. But I also think that it's going to be hard to. What's that? Just like Medicaid recipients working on farms. So that'll be the plan. I think it's going to take several years for that bill to get through Springfield. It's currently imperfect and doesn't have the support necessary to come through. And then, of course, the funding part of that as well. But my goal would be to have energy efficient green EV program that offered curb-to-curb service, especially for seniors and disabled starting out. Yep, we do. Yep, we do have a bike ped board that looks at a lot of these things and looks at gaps in trail coverage. I know that Will County has been working on a project in Ward 9 that just came to fruition thanks to the Forest Preserve and the county board members. I'm going to go, there's a couple other, sorry, back there with the mic. And then why don't we come to the front of the room after that?
Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Yeah. Good afternoon, sir. So we are a new community built up, in our surroundings. we have a lot of kids and families living where we look for many programs to reach out to you. And we are also looking for safety concerns where if there is a cameras in the street lights in our community, new build, it would be really helpful for us to, protect many things, especially for the kids in danger, and the families.
I guess I don't know exactly where you live. Maybe you can give your address to somebody, Austin, who's standing right behind you. We can come look at it a little bit more closely. With respect to the city's camera system, a lot of that is on fiber optics. So we have to run fiber, which is very expensive. And I think also, just to be very clear, a lot of people, I can understand the safety concerns, but a lot of people also don't want big government surveillance in their neighborhood. So I think it's a little bit of a balancing act. So there's probably a cost element that accompanied with a privacy element that might prevent us from putting cameras throughout the city. Maybe not the answer you want, but want to make sure we address any safety concerns in your neighborhood.
My name is Mary Jo Ginter. I'm a lifelong Auroran. That means 70 years I've lived here. And for once, we have something in Aurora that people outside of Aurora are coming to, and I'm talking about the Paramount. And I'm very concerned about throwing away something. On Friday, I read a review in the Chicago Tribune that said, if you live within shouting distance of Aurora, come see True West. You won't be disappointed for the price. I think that your administration has been transparent. I think the ACCA has been transparent. I saw that eyebrow rise, but I am very hopeful that the two of you work together very respectfully and come to some resolution without finger pointing. I think that what Tim Rader and Jim Cordy and crew have done for Aurora is just fabulous.
I'll do my best to talk about it without finger pointing. So, prior to the pandemic, I think the Paramount was still growing and building an audience. With the shutdown of the pandemic, there was a big cash infusion to try and get the Paramount back up and running. And ACA has 5 facilities: the Copley Theater, Paramount Theater, Stolp Island Theater, River Edge Park, and the School of the Arts. That's 5 that it's trying to sustain. It's not sustainable in its current fashion. Since being on the Aurora City Council, I've pushed for a sustainability model. The Paramount did their own study. The board paid $90,000 to do a study, and that study showed that they need to do more fundraising. Almost every theater in the United States, about 40% of their funding comes from fundraising, and that's where their focus needs to be. That being said, they have become a little bit dependent on the city now to close the gap in their own operations. So it is going to be a difficult time for the city. It's also going to be a difficult time for the Paramount to move into that place. And I'm going to work together to do it. I've been very clear with Tim about what I feel they need to do. And I feel like maybe that's finally being heard as we've gotten further along. And it's unfortunate that the Bold series closed, but I think that we're going to find a different use for that space that might generate more revenue. So we've presented some ideas, and we're also going to be partners in trying to do a lot more corporate fundraising. The city does a lot of business with people, and we're going to ask some of those businesses, the casinos come up today, to be partners and to try and create more opportunities for their employees to do corporate outings there. And that will help subsidize the Paramount a little bit and draw more people into it. There's other things that we've talked about, adjusting ticket prices. we have the highest subscription rate, but the reason we have the highest subscription rate is because it's buy two, get two free. And I think that we're going to have to adjust that to a buy three, get one free, or increase ticket prices in certain parts of the theater. There's got to be some level that we can play with the numbers and see ticket pricing. So it's going to be challenging, but I'm committed to making sure that the Paramount and Broadway series stay open. Right now it looks like $1 Million Quartet is still doing fantastic and still filling the seats. That's good, and their operational budget seems to be on pace and staying stable. So definitely, if there's fans of the Paramount, I think go see the last Copley show, but also the Bold series, but also tell your friends about all the shows that we have to make sure that people from outside and inside the city are enjoying it.
Hi, I'm Brian Scopa. I'm Ward 8. I appreciate seeing working class homes near the top. I think that's a great priority. I'd like to retire and stay here forever, but I'm afraid my kids will not be able to buy a house when they come of age. So it seems like most of the states and cities that are doing really well with building housing are doing it through regulatory reform and speeding approval, not so much grants or giving money back to developers. Do we have any effort like that here to restrict the amount of, or to speed through zoning and approval boards, those type of issues, so we can get more housing built quicker?
I would say that the approval and inspection process for a lot of the bigger developments is decent. I'm aware that there are some problems, but additionally, another problem that we have is contractors that call it chuck in a truck that are doing unpermitted work in the city. So I don't want to relax building and permitting standards, because we're also having a lot of people don't read about this, and there's not a lot of news coverage of it. But since being mayor, I can tell you we have a lot of small fires that our fire trucks are being called to put out due to faulty electricity, illegal fireworks. On the 4th of July, we had a house not burned to the ground, but so it's creating a need there. So I don't want to relax standards too much. I don't think it's a barrier for some of the bigger development projects, but it's probably more the smaller remodeling and some of the smaller contractors that are having trouble. We are going to do some contractor training. I actually talked with the building and permits director yesterday, and that was one of his recommendations. For landlords, we're looking at because we do an annual inspection of a lot of rental properties. So if you get a good inspection, A+ inspection, you might not have to go through an inspection for 5 years. And then at the bottom, if you're a slumlord, you're going to have to get re-inspected every year. And what this will do is free up some of our staff who's doing an annual inspection to, one, focus on the problem areas, and two, perhaps provide more expedited service.
So,
by the way, that's not all the recommendations coming out of the building and permits department, but a few of them.
I'm not lucky. Everybody else can speak to the mic but me. This seems personal. For the interest of time, we're going to take 2 more questions because we have to get to the next part so we can respect everybody's time. I know I had this gentleman and then you next.
I'm Peter Marinelli, Ward 8, an Aurora resident for 29 years. I'm curious about the private equity funding of these multifamily dwellings, so-called mixed-use developments with parking, et cetera, et cetera. And what I mean by curious is I'm wondering if there's any part of the planning process that holds these developers accountable for the growth in infrastructure that's required in order to support all of the people who are going to be inhabiting those facilities. Are they getting, in my opinion, I think they're kind of getting away with too much, because it seems as if they're holding the cards and the cities, and it's not just Aurora, obviously, are kind of hostage in a way to them. I'm wondering if there's any way to generate more revenue out of them.
So you said curious about the private equity part of that.
The private equity meaning the developers who actually, I guess, are tasked with doing the work and are funded by private equity, and as such, they have the leverage. It seems.
So first of all, the bigger concern I have is the public dollars being used to subsidize a lot of these private developments that aren't necessarily bringing anything to the community.
Right.
The DAC is the DAC development right along Broadway is probably my biggest concern. We, the taxpayers, are
Right.
subsidizing that to the tune of $12 million. Private equity side, a portion of that loan was at 10% interest, which means that we, the taxpayers, are subsidizing that. The second part of that is TIFs, which is another public form of funding. And the problem is that every time you do a development, you need more police, you need more fire, you need to expand your fire coverage, and they are not paying into the public body to help subsidize that, which means that we all are now paying into it and covering the cost through higher property taxes. I don't think I answered your question, which is what are we doing to hold them accountable on the construction timeline when we do have public dollars invested. We give it to them in chunks, and the big chunk at the end doesn't come until the development is done. But that doesn't answer the question. I guess the answer is to not use TIFs, and really what we need is statewide TIF reform, because what a lot of these developments will do is they'll play municipalities against each other. We saw it with the Chicago Bears, where they were even entertaining, which community is going to give me the sweetest deal, and it all generates money for the bankers and the private equity, but it doesn't do anything necessarily for us outside of creating some local jobs, which is good. And I guess the other thing is we could attach living wage ordinances to those to make sure that the jobs that they are bringing are good paying jobs, which addresses one of the concerns on my chart. I don't think the first year of my administration we're looking at any new economic development. We're just trying to financially stabilize. So that's a big part of it. I guess if we ever do cross that where we need to look at a public subsidy, I'll come to the community first, but it's not high on my priority list. One more.
Hi, Nina Perkins, Ward 8. I've lived in this city for 29 years. My question is regarding sustainability. For one, thank you for finally getting a sustainability director. She had posted on social media that she wants to create a sustainability plan, but I know there is a sustainability plan created in 2019 by the Mayor's Office Sustainable Advisory Board. I was on that board. I helped create that plan. Is she planning on creating something totally new, or was she unaware of the 2019 plan? And is that plan, the plan that's already been awarded, a sustainability plan award from Kane County, but will that sustainability plan finally be implemented?
So first of all, thank you for your question. I believe I read her script before she went on and did her PSA, and she mentions the 2019 plan and working to implement it, but also bring it up to speed. And I think, so the first goal that she has in that department role is to make the public aware of the incentives that are disappearing. That's sort of the first thing. Then it's probably to review and update our plans, work with the bike ped community to address some of the concerns there and see if we can attract more grant dollars there. And then also work on the affordable housing piece to inject more money from IFA and some of the other grants that we've applied for to try and build energy efficient, high quality, affordable housing. So I think those are her goals coming out of the gate, but she'll be looking at the existing plan, I'm sure. We also have a fleet readiness plan that we want to upgrade and bring in and put. As a member of the council, I was pushing hard to make sure the infrastructure at the Public Works building and parking lots all had electrical access if we want to put EV chargers in. I mean, it's the future that we need to prepare for. So I'm going to give her a little bit of time to, one, get through the immediate crisis, I'm going to just say, so residents can take advantage of some of that, and then probably look at building a more sustainable plan. And she has a background in energy efficient building, and there's another person that's working with her in economic development that is going to be doing a lot of the work on solar.
Thank you.
All right, now Nick, I'll let you take it away. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Apologize that we couldn't get to everyone's questions, but we are just transitioning to the next portion of today, and that will be small groups. So you will still be able to have dialogue and discuss. We're going to have facilitators and the mayor and some of our older people walk around. And with that, I actually want to acknowledge two of our older people who are here today at large, Will White and Keith Larson. If you want to stand up, just be acknowledged. Thank you both for coming out. With that, if my facilitators will raise your hand. Facilitator. Where you're at, if you just want to turn around, my facilitators are going to come towards you, and then they're going to give you kind of like the rundown of what the next steps are to generate dialogue. So if you all want to come to your designated zones, and then, yep. We're going to do this final report back and close out. And then if one of my facilitators from Ward 9 who have the report back could come up here. Let's see. Are you reporting back? Or is it Casey? Okay. No, either or, whoever wants to do it. If I got everybody's attention quickly so that.
Let's come back now. Hi, everybody. Up here. Hi. Hello. Good to see you. Great discussions.
Okay, thank you. We're going to do this final part of our two discussions. We're going to have a brief report back from both wards so you can kind of hear what was taking place in the other conversations. Michelle, you had Ward 8.
I'm Michelle, and today I represent the Ward 8 community. Woohoo! So we had some really good discussion, and we had some common themes. So the first being some zoning flexibility, and not just in housing, ADUs in tiny homes, but also in how we in plants. So can we have some native plants and planting in our parkways? So thank you, Ward 8. Please help me. To help with drainage. The other was connectivity and accessibility and transportation. So how do we better connect Ward 8 residents to downtown? How do we improve accessibility for our seniors? And how do we improve overall connectivity, not just within the city of Aurora, but back and forth to other cities and counties in our surrounding area? The other one was investment in our future, so workforce development and also investing in affordable housing, which could kind of lead back to the first one around zoning for ADUs in tiny homes. They talked a lot about a beautification campaign. So what can we do to keep our communities and our streets clean and beautiful? And then they suggested a marketing plan for overcoming some of that historic stigma that we feel or have experienced in the city of Aurora. So what can we do to promote how great our city is and all the great things that are happening in the city of Aurora? Thank you.
Ward 9.
Okay. So I was with Ward 9. That's okay. Can I just pick it up? Okay. So Ward 9 talked about traffic concerns in general, but also down Yola Road. And then we also discussed how we would like to see more neighborhood groups all around Ward 9. And then the other one was several of our constituents mentioned how we would like to also see a lot more grocery stores and just other commercial stores around the area, because if they feel like we are oftentimes traveling to Oswego or other Naperville areas to spend our tax dollar monies there. And then one of the other concerns was about pathways and sidewalks as well.
So this is the end of town hall. I will encourage people to please go to the back, take some food with you. We are really appreciative of everybody who participated today. I want to assure you again that the time you took today to engage with your community, to talk to our elected officials, and to share some of your thoughts, your ideas, your concerns is really appreciated. And we're going to be utilizing that in our report, and it's going to instruct how the mayor's office moves forward. This is not the end of the conversation. It's the beginning. We're going to continue having different kind of initiatives and days like this where we can solicit feedback so that we can be informed on what we're doing. And we really want a bottom-up process, meaning we want to be able to have a responsive government and a government that's transparent. And that really starts with the process of engaging with our residents on a consistent basis and finding different channels of communication that work for everybody so it's accessible, it's consistent, and hopefully what in our mind this leads to better outcomes, better policy making, a higher quality of life, and a more connected community, right? We also want you all to build together. Our greatest asset is each other, and nobody knows it all, but together we know a lot. So again, appreciate everybody coming out. Please engage with some of the resources outside. Continue to reach out. If you want a card, please come to me. Our chief of staff is somewhere. If she wants to raise her hand. Maybe she went outside. Oh, there. Our chief of staff is there. We have many of people on the third floor here. We have folks all from the city who work in different departments are here. So please, if you have questions still as we're piling out, we can't stay here too long. But feel free to engage with one another, engage with some of the elected officials. And again, thank you and have a wonderful evening.